Everybody loves animals, but which is the nation's favourite? Is it the ever-faithful, overprotective canine, or the fiercely independent, highly intelligent feline that takes first place? Or is there a growing demand for more exotic pets? I'm John Paul Gates, and personally I love cats. I have a gorgeous Russian blue at home, but of course I'm biased, so I'm going to be pounding both London streets and parks, discussing with pet owners both past and present as to what their preferred furry companion is.
They're gorgeous creatures, underestimated.
I mean, I'm a dog person. Are you a dog person?
Definitely a dog person.
Yeah.
I am a self-professed cat person.
I suppose cats are less effort, so. Like in terms of a dog and a cat? I would say a dog. So my name's Ellen, I'm from London and I have a dog.
My name is Salvia, I'm from Watford. I own 2 rescue cats and a Pembroke Corgi.
I'm Rachel and I have a cat.
I'm Robbie, I'm from up in the Lake District, a small little village called Bothell, which you probably won't have heard of. And I don't currently have a pet, but I have in the past life had a dog. We had several dogs back at home actually, but in the small flat at the minute we can't house a dog or a cat or anything.
My name is Anata, I'm from Czech Republic and I have a dog.
Yeah, so my name's Ian. I grew up in Melbourne but I live in London now, Hackney. And probably my favourite pet would probably be a dog. Just because they're more loyal, they're more fun to have around and get active with them. I do like cats as well, but they can sometimes be a bit more snobby.
My name's Jack. I grew up in the country in Wiltshire, but I live in London. My pet is Lockie, who's a Jackapoo.
My name is Katie, I'm from Glasgow and I have a dog called George. Yeah, it's a retriever, golden retriever. Yeah, it's actually the ambassador dog of Scotland, weirdly enough. Yeah.
My name is Laurie, I'm from London and I currently don't have a pet, sadly.
I'm Gordon, I come from North London, although my accent would belie that. I've had various pets over the years, including presently I have 2 dogs and a cat. But I did up until last year have 2 dogs and 4 cats, but 3 of them unfortunately have died.
Okay, so I'm Kate from St Albans.
And I'm Adam, her son, and we have 2 dogs currently. We used to have a cat, but my sister's allergic, so she went to my godmother.
Not your sister, the cat.
The cat went to my godmother, yes.
My name is Kate and I'm from London, North London. I don't own an animal. I always wanted a dog. I'd love to have a dog, but I live, you know, inner city London. And when I was working long hours, it just wasn't feasible. And I found this website called Borrow My Doggy that one of my friends told me about. And it puts you in contact with people who need their dogs walked. And through that I met a very good friend of mine who's got Jessie. So I walk Jessie. It used to be just the weekends. And at the moment we're just doing, because he's on holiday, so I've got her for a few days. Well, she's really boring, she's really good. Oh, see, squirrel. So it is, I mean, it's like having the best of both. I've got the dog that I can take out and walk and enjoy being with and looking after. And then I can hand her back to her lovely owner. But no, she's brought so much joy to my life and his life actually. I absolutely love it, and I love dogs, absolutely love dogs.
Name's Nita and I did have a cat but she died unfortunately, and I live in a flat and I don't feel that it's good to have a new one because cats should be outside and I live in a flat upstairs.
My cat is named Mycroft. He is a very fluffy brown striped cat, part Maine Coon, so he's very big. He's got big paws. He's very fluffy. He's very expressive.
And when I moved, it was an outdoor cat too, you know, and you come in, of course. But then when I moved, I had to take the cat with me, of course. And she was old then. She was about 14, so it wasn't such a hardship for her to be inside. And then she died about 3 years ago, but I just miss her terribly.
So what's the difference between dogs and cats? Just talking about dogs first of all, they are pack animals, which means they are followers and they tend to pine for companionship and are inclined to travel with their owners. They have a great or heightened sense of smell, got great fitness durability, and they are very overprotective of their owners. Cats, on the other hand, are lone hunters. They tend to amuse themselves, they jump and climb trees and have great eyes.
The beauty of owning a pet is that it's great company, but of course they don't last very long. They don't live as long as humans do, so you have to go through the pain of the separation there, if you like, of that, which is, say, I had 2 die on me last year and 1 the year before. So it was all very traumatic at the time. They are a member of the family.
Well, she's a Wheaten Terrier and she's like golden, like blondie kind of colour. Like this. Well, she can be a bit bouncy sometimes, but most of the time she's very quiet and very relaxed. Well, it depends on the day. She always tries to go on long walks. She always tries to pull us the other way to go on a long walk.
No. So I've just got a new puppy 2 months ago, and before we had a dog for 7 years.
There's a Labrador cross poodle, about this big, big fluffy coat like a sheep, so it doesn't shed any hair, which is ideal.
She's a therapy dog. So yeah, her owner takes her into a care home, a residential care home for people with dementia. Right. And they stroke her and talk to her, and very gentle and very, very calming. I like a lot of therapy dogs really, because you've got therapets, and then you've got dogs in schools. You've got some dogs that go into schools.
I have been trying lately to get a cat that's, an older cat that's been brought up in a flat, and somebody's died, but then I've got to think I might die before the cat too.
So I had the rescue cats in total for 15 years.
They're gorgeous creatures, underestimated.
First one is from Lithuania. I found him on the street and just brought him to UK. And the next one, cat, I took it from Rolvenden Cat Rescue about 2-3 years ago. So it was the introduction also to each other, which was quite experience.
I mean, I'm a dog person. Are you a dog person?
Definitely a dog person.
Yeah. I suppose cats are less effort, so.
Cats are more independent and have more personality, in my opinion. So a dog is just unconditional love. All of their MO is love me, love me, love me, love me, feed me, love me, love me. While a cat's like feed me, oh, I don't need your attention right now, I'm gonna go entertain myself. Oh, let me play with this ball of whatever and freak out for a sec. Okay, I'll get some love right now. There's just more going on with a cat, there's more personality. It's just a more layered animal, in my opinion. And I like that I have to work for the affection a little bit.
Like in terms of a dog and a cat? I would say a dog, but I'm a dog fan through to the end. That's not to say that cats aren't great, but dogs are, I just see them as family. They become a person and they're just part of your family and your life, so I'd definitely say a dog.
So when I was first born, I remember we had a little collie growing up, and then there was 2 or 3 more dogs after that. And the last dog we had for about 10-15 years was a little Scottish Terrier called Bobby. And I'm called Robbie, which was quite confusing when he was trying to call his name and it was Robbie or Bobby. So yeah, I mean, we had him for ages and then he died eventually. And after that, my mum and dad didn't really get a dog and I left the house and stuff, and ever since I haven't had a pet. So, but still a big fan. Yeah, my girlfriend's parents have both got pets. So when we go back home, we see them, their dogs and stuff.
No, the first cat is a male, even though it's been neutered, but it's still dominant the territory. So the new cat, which was brought in, it was female, but it still was the quite sensitive about the territory and attention. So the cat usually tries to eliminate the newcomer. So I had to take introduction steps, slowly introducing, being myself in the room, just making sure the older cat doesn't attack the younger one.
I love all cats equally, even the hairless cats. I think they're all very cute. I think it's about the face for me and not necessarily like the coloring or whether it's long hair or short hair. However, I prefer long-haired cats because I think it's because I grew up with one, and I find affection. I find that very nostalgic and loving to me. They're very fluffy. They're very like comfortable and fun to pet. But I am open to all cats. Send all your cats my way. I will take anything.
I would definitely have a dog. I like big dogs. I'd probably get like a German Shepherd or a Rottweiler or something like that.
A Rottweiler?
Yes, I just love dogs. They're just very loving and smiley and fun.
That's mainly what sets that you can be just actually calm, that the dog will do anything. And the cats at the same time, it's mostly important to cut their nails. So the cat even hits dog, it's just basically that's it. Cat hits and runs.
I think dogs are much more loyal. I think you get much more from a dog. I think I get the feeling that cats don't really care about you. We have had cats. We used to have barn cats back. We lived on an old farm back in the lakes, and we had barn cats and stuff like that. And we had a pet cat for a while, and then it just wandered off, and we never came back one day. But I got the feeling that it didn't really. I mean, it could have done without us really. As long as we fed it and kept it warm from time to time, it didn't really care if we were around or not. So, with a dog, I think obviously man's best friend. It's loyal. It's around all the time. They look to you for companionship, and so yeah, I think you get a lot more from a dog than a cat.
I think cats, they are part of the family at the end, and you get every cat has a different character to them. And the one we have currently is, has never been more than I would say about 10 metres away from the place that she was actually born, which was in a cupboard in the kitchen. So she doesn't venture out. She is part of the pack. She likes people to be around and likes to be around people, although not in the immediate vicinity, just round about. If you like. So she likes the company. The first two cats that I had when I moved to London, again, adored the company. They were indoor cats because they lived in a flat at the time. But you'd come in after work and find them a little lump under the duvet, or you'd go and try and find them and they'd be up on a top shelf in a cupboard or something like that. But they were very sociable creatures.
For me, it's quite straightforward because I'm super allergic to cats, so I can't even have a cat. But I don't know, I think dogs are more loyal and you can actually go out with them. You can't really do that with cats.
Disadvantage of a dog, quite expensive. I think, especially living in London, if you've got a full-time job, trying to get out and walk a dog, I think you can't really leave a dog in the house all day. Whereas a cat, I think you probably could leave it around and it can look after itself for the day, but a dog kind of needs a bit of contact and feed, and you got to let out for a walk and a wee and stuff. So I think there's a lot more kind of maintenance with a dog than a cat. Cat can just bugger off and doesn't really care, so it's fine.
I prefer dogs. I think they're more like, cats are very independent, and dogs you can just cuddle.
In the United States, while the cat population is bigger than dogs, 39% of households prefer dogs, compared to 33% of households owning cats. Similarly, according to the PDSA Poll Report of 2019, in the United Kingdom there is a bigger cat population, 10.9 million, compared to 9.9 million dogs. However, more households, 26%, prefer dogs, compared to 24% of households that own cats.
No, so she's my first dog. We got her about 10 years ago. She's our family dog. And she is a Maltese Terrier. So she's about this big. She's very sweet.
I grew up with cats and I really preferred cats. But now my husband grew up with dogs. So now we've got the dogs. I actually love dogs as well.
I think particularly if you're older and stuff, and so having someone around, I mean, it's a dog. I mean, it's like a friend, isn't it, in the house? I mean, they're always around to kind of, you can chat to it. It won't chat back, obviously, but you can kind of talk to it, and it's companionship. It's something like a warm kind of friend who's around.
They got on famously. I mean, the cat that I have just now was actually one of the kittens of a stray that just turned up on our doorstep. And at that point, we had one dog, and the dog effectively became a surrogate mother for these cats. So I say we kept 2 of these kittens, and then the mother just sort of wandered off, if you like. But we kept 2 of the kittens. One of them died just a couple of years ago, and but the other one has been so close to one of the dogs. And then when the other dog came in, he learned very, very quickly that the cat was there before he was, and the cat was to be respected. So it's funny how they pick up on that, and the cat is now just part of the pack, if you like, as well as members of the human and dog fraternity.
Yeah, I grew up with a dog and a cat and a bird, and there were fish at certain points. And the dog I grew up with was an amazing dog, a golden retriever / Labrador mix. And I grew up with a cat. I love all animals, I just think that cats are far superior.
The notion that more females own cats than men is not borne out in the United States, as a recent survey suggested that 48% of American males own cats compared to only 35% of women.
A lot of my girlfriends have dogs, and my boyfriend has a cat. I think a man is much more of a man when he has a cat, because I think he's willing to maybe go against those stereotypes.
I mean, I do like cats, like I don't mind them, but I'm allergic, so I would never have one because I struggle with them. But I can see the appeal. I want a hairless cat, actually.
But yeah, I think saying a cat's up for a woman and a dog's for a man, I think is a bit, you might upset a few people saying that, I think.
Cats, I think, are a lot more moody, and I want a pet that always wants to love me.
Just want to be loved.
I just want to be loved.
I mean, a lot of people, like my parents, maybe wouldn't feel inclined to go walking if they didn't have a dog to go out with all the time. So obviously you're fitter, you're healthier. So I can see the benefits of having a pet in that respect, yeah. A cat or a dog. I mean, yeah. If you like cats, having a cat around the house makes you feel better. Then, and you often might not have contact outside of your interaction with the cat. Then you can benefit your health. Yeah.
I like cats. They aren't what I would go for though, just because I feel like dogs are a bit more personable. They just kind of react better with people, I think. And if I see a dog in the street, I'll always automatically go up to that rather than a cat. I think it just depends on the person though.
I think they fulfill slightly different functions myself. I mean, I'm inclined to dogs as opposed to cats, and maybe there is that division. But I think, I'm sure cats are equal companions, but they choose whether to give their company or not, whereas dogs sort of want it, really.
It's nice just to have some company and just someone who just doesn't judge you. It's just nice. I
think there's obviously some very scenic, nice place to go and walk and stuff, so kind of taking the dog out with the parents, walking up like the old lawnings and paths and stuff, and letting the dog just free to kind of run around, not going to have a lead. I think especially around here you might have a lead and stuff and keep more of a tabs on your dog, but up in the lakes you can kind of just let your dog kind of roam free and stuff. And yeah, I think a walk with a dog is much more enjoyable than just walking on your own with a couple of people. I think it's more of a purpose, more of a let's take the dog out. It's also a good excuse to get out and go for a walk. A lot of people might not bother to. I think since our dog died, particularly my mum and dad don't get out walking as much as they used to. Whereas when the dog was around, they had to get out and go for a walk, once or twice a day. So
you don't have to wake up at 6 a.m. every day to take your cat out. It takes care of its business on its own in its little litter box. They are able to be home alone for long hours at a time, so if you work all day, I think that that's a great benefit, but you still get all that affection and camaraderie of having an animal in your house.
Yeah, I've had a cat. Well, cats are a bit meh, aren't they? They're just like, they like you on their terms, whereas a dog is just like, whenever they see you, it's like, oh, you're here, whereas cats like, oh, where's my food? So I don't know, I just find dogs, I find them more engaging. I think they're gorgeous, and they sense things as well. I mean, I know cats do, I think all animals do actually, but yeah, dogs for me, I love their playfulness. Yeah, I love the fact that they like being with humans, whereas I think cats are more independent. But no, I just love dogs.
With the cat is more acceptable for the more busier person who can't take in the middle of the day, can't spend too much time. The cat will be fine, they're quite independent.
Well, I'm allergic to cats, so that's one advantage about having a dog. But I think dogs are more loving. It's more of a always happy. Yeah, it's more of a companion. Cats just do what they want, whereas dogs need you to like care for them and be there for them, be there like their parent almost.
I think the advantage is if you want to be outside a lot and you enjoy walking, you have a companion with you for the walks.
And if you don't walk a lot at the moment and you want to get into walking, a dog's definitely a good way to do that, right? It makes you get out of the house.
And it gets the kids out of the house because they come for the walks too.
Yes. And I think with a dog you have more of a bond with them.
I don't think there are any disadvantages to owning a cat.
I think a cat just generally just doesn't need us as much as a dog needs us. I think it's quite an independent being. It can, some cats might be different. I'm not sure I'm speaking for all cats here, but the cats I've come across are very independent beings. As if sometimes when you pet a cat, it's as if you're always bothering the cat. It can't really bother to be, and they can at times turn a bit vicious. They obviously don't learn their names as much as other animals, so I think they're kind of just happy in their own being, where a dog needs much more love. And
well, the dog is going to be always the one who's happy, running to see you, just jumping, licking. But the cats actually, I've noticed the rescue ones, they really show your love. They really appreciate when you're at home. They come to you, they want to sleep with you, they want to know what you're doing. If you're eating your dinner, they're sitting next to you, not just to steal the food from the plate. But they actually want to interact with you. If you understand they're behaving, they will interact with you. If you just come and say, love me, I want love, cat really doesn't care much, which for the dog is, oh, you're interacting with me, that's how much I need. Probably rescue cats show more love than the pure breeding ones. With the dogs, I've seen rescues and not rescues, they all show love.
I definitely think there's something behind that research. I don't know if it's necessarily a pet. I think it's just caring for anyone or anything in particular. It's particularly something that depends on you. I think that's incredibly nurturing for your mental state, and then that snowballs onto everything else.
I had previous things with mental health, and I know a lot of people that have as well. And as soon as you see a dog and as soon as you see anyone with a dog, they all go, oh my gosh, my gosh. And it's just because they want to love you and they give you like endorphins. So I would definitely say in terms of mental health and things like that, that dogs are 110% the way to go.
Because it makes you go out on the walk, maybe that reduces risk in some way.
And they say stroking the cat.
I do think you get a lot of exercise from having a dog. It makes you go out. I said this before, but that could be to do with a heart disease. I also heard that having a dog helps your immune system because you get like lots of illnesses from the dog, which strengthens your immune. So that's on a similar line, but I'm not exactly sure why it would reduce the risk of heart.
But my daughter said since we've had the dogs, we've been much happier, more love has gone around since we've had the dogs. So maybe that also helps you, relax you. And
maybe.
Obviously couldn't comment on the figures, but I could understand why. Simply because they are de-stressors, apart from anything else. I mean, they're very uncomplicated beasts, if you like, in their way, and they give their love unconditionally. So therefore, it's nice to get a cuddle from something that's not going to judge you. So I could see why or how they would come to that conclusion, but as I say, the percentages I wouldn't comment on.
I think that pets are very good in terms of, I'm not sure about the science behind in terms of heart attacks and things, but in terms of mental health, I think dogs are probably one of the best things that you could get.
Her owner was taking her, I think it's with the Mayhew, their therapy pets. This is on Twitter. But yeah, he used to take her into a residential care home for people with dementia and Alzheimer's, you know, Saturday morning once a month. And because she's so lovely with humans, so docile with humans, they just loved it. They gave her, you know, they could stroke her, interact with her. And I think there was some research last week that talked about just the very act of, you know, stroking a dog is calming for you as well as the dog.
Well, you probably tend to remember the stress moments. So walking the dog in the park, you know, you don't know what other dogs you're going to meet, what other dog owners you're going to meet. Actually, I've been pretty impressed. Most dog owners are pretty relaxed. Most dogs are pretty relaxed, and, you know, if he needs to learn the occasional lesson, so much the better. In terms of my overall stress, I'm the least stressed person you can think of anyway.
They're a lot more effort. You have to actually, like, you have to walk them. Cats will just do what they want, and dogs, you have to be there for them.
Needier.
They're needier, that's the word. You have to be there for them. You have to, like, make sure they're looked after, like, throughout the day. You can't just leave them and go to work and then come back. They got to be walked. They've got to be. They're just more needy. Yeah, not needier.
Mycroft likes to attack the toilet paper roll, and I know some cats do this. I'm not sure why exactly. Like, what's the intention? But he like tore it up, so there were these white pieces of toilet paper all over the bathroom floor, and then he just kind of looks like, what'd I do? Like, so, like, what's wrong? So we had to put this plastic case around the toilet paper roll, so it's difficult for him to get in there. But every once in a while he, like, gets on it at the side and just, like, tears up the side of it. Never anything beyond, like, you know, I mean, that's very replaceable. Like, he'll tear up the couch, but we try to prevent him from doing that.
It's everything, really. I mean, at the moment I can walk her, but, you know, that's not always possible. I mean, her owner walks her first thing every morning. I couldn't do that. I couldn't really have the commitment or the responsibility, the cost, the vet bills, you know, all of that, which he took on with her. Saying she's a rescue dog as well, so, you know, she needs a lot of looking after. You've got to be vigilant when you're walking her. So I wouldn't actually want that responsibility.
For a puppy, you know, you'll have to tidy up after him. They do need a lot of attention, maybe less attention given time.
I'd probably just say they are a lot of work, but if you love them, obviously you're going to do it. But they are a lot of work, and they are expensive as well, dogs. But they're worth it completely.
The dependency means that you need to be at home more. They're more needy. And cats, once you get to know the cats, they're very, very close to you, and you just didn't have time to really completely bond.
Maybe.
Yeah. But cats are easier to look after, and they're easier when you go away on holiday. They can stay in the house and be looked after by a friend. With the dogs, it's more problematic.
I would say the biggest disadvantage is that they don't live long, and then you suffer the loss, and that's the most heartbreaking thing I've ever experienced. So that's the biggest disadvantage. I don't see any other.
Well, I'm from Australia in Sydney, and I'm here on a visa which expires next year in August. So I guess the biggest thing for me would just be like the commitment. It's not really a good time to commit to a dog when I'm moving to the other side of the world in a year's time. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. And yeah, the apartment as well, obviously there's nowhere for it to go, and I think walking, like you said before, like they're a lot of effort, you need to walk them. I wouldn't want to get a dog unless I had the time to give it. So yeah, London's a bit of a hard spot, I think, to have a dog.
Yeah, I would say it's much easier to have a dog in like the country or the suburbs where there's a lot more space.
Definitely.
You can't just let your dog in the garden.
No.
And if you live in a high-rise flat.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're a bit more squished into four walls, which is a bit unfair.
Well, I can't have a dog, that's for sure, because too much work, and I don't care for these toy dogs all that much. Oh, mongrels.
Right.
Yes, definitely. I don't know. I just think the breed ones are very precious. I'd like a cat to be natural.
I thought it's a breed, but we are not that sure anymore. It's supposed to be a Labrador, but we are not that sure because she has really different ears at the moment. So yeah.
Mind you, I haven't got any great strong feelings. Would consider any kind of cat.
So we tried to get the kind of hyperallergenic dog, which I noticed that you can't ever have a completely hyperallergenic dog just because my daughter's got allergies. So we went for doodles. They've been great for her. So that's our experience of breeds. We just wanted to get a family-friendly dog that wasn't going to set off her allergies.
I'd have a golden retriever. And it's funny, I was just talking to the guy there who has got a cross golden retriever. I mean, she's lovely. I adore her. But if it was up to me, and say I had lots of space, and I just love them. I love their temperament, and they're so gentle, and I love them. But I love all dogs, really. I mean, I wouldn't turn down a dog. Let's put it that way.
I've had numerous breeds. I mean, one of my dogs is a cocker, purebred cocker spaniel. The other one's a Jack Russell that was, we came by him from an old guy who died when he was 4 months old, that he'd bought him out of the back of a van sort of thing. So, he's a bit of a mongrel, although he looks like a Jack Russell. And but I find crossbreeds are probably more affectionate, if anything.
Well, my dogs, I like small dogs. My favourite's a British bulldog. I suppose that's a breed, isn't it? But my dog's she's a mix, so she's a mongrel, isn't she? So, I mean, I'm all-inclusive. Anything.
He's not a working dog, so he's just a London dog, pretty much a lap dog. So no, I wasn't purist about it at all. Quite often mongrels are, in better health anyway. So he's a happy mongrel. He's a Jackapoo, which isn't a proper breed, but he's mostly Jack Russell and a little bit of poodle.
We do joke that the Cocker Spaniel was born into, of course, a life of luxury and a heated kennel with, kept with her mother and her various aunts until she was, I think, 6 or 8 weeks old, I think, when we got her. But so she was born into that gilded cage and had lived in it ever since. And therefore, she won't give a paw or something like that, whereas the other one, you just sort of mention a treat and he's bouncing up and down and giving you any number of paws you want and trying to get your attention, whereas she'll just sit there aloof and expect it. That's I don't know if there's anything in that or not, but that's certainly from my experience.
And they are super loving. I just love the way how they look. But obviously, if I would come across with a street dog which doesn't have a home, I would adopt that dog. So I don't really have preferences, but on the other hand, I do. As long as it's quite big dog, I'm fine.
I think I just like big dogs. Yeah.
I think it's harder to get a mongrel big dog.
Is it?
I'm just making that up. I think big dogs are normally like set breeds.
Yeah.
And then the little ones are always mixes.
Yeah.
Like cockapoos, labradoodles.
True. Yeah.
Maltese terriers.
Yeah. I think you've got, you're going somewhere with
Then like Rottweiler. You wouldn't mix a Rottweiler, would you?
No, probably not.
Well, small dogs are more loud, I would say, and they are not that confident because they are small, obviously. Yeah, big dog, big laugh, I would say.
So, what is the archetypal dog owner, or what is the archetypal cat owner? Well, statistics show that those that tend to own dogs tend to live in rural areas, tend to be the more outdoorsy types, more sociable in nature, whereas those that own cats tend to live in more urban conurbations. They tend to be more introverted in nature and tend to lead busier lifestyles.
Cats probably more appropriate for. But then they've got to be house cats.
Yeah, I understand that because you don't really have to put your cat to the hotel. You can just tell your friend to come and feed the cat, and that's it. While with the dog, it's different. Dog doesn't want to be alone. He must be fed twice a day. He needs to go for walks. So yeah, in this case, it's easier to have a cat, obviously.
For working people that work long hours, I think dogs are quite difficult.
But I work from home, I work for myself, so if anyone could have a dog in London, it would be me.
I think a cat is better for an apartment type of living just because there's not really any grassy areas around, so it'd be tough to, take your dog out. Plus they're very independent, so I can leave my cat here whilst I go off and do, meetings or see a movie or whatever.
If you did a survey of people around inner city London, you'd probably have more cats, and then the further and further you went out, more dogs, just more access to green space, and cats are much more easy to have in an apartment.
I've no land, I've just got a balcony in terms of outside space. It gives me plenty of discipline and a routine, which probably I was lacking.
I think it's because dogs are a lot more work. So you have to think about things like who's going to walk it, who's going to feed it and things like that, whereas a cat can kind of tend to their own business. And especially in somewhere like London, which is really busy all the time, cats can just roam about, and especially if it's an outdoor cat, it can just go away and come back. Whereas with a dog, you need to think about things. So for some people from rural areas, I think they have dogs because they can actually go out and take it out into like the parks and things like that, whereas you don't really have as much of that in London.
I think people don't realise what a commitment it is to have any animal, because if a cat's outside, it can amuse itself, but if it's indoors on its own, you should be there with it, keeping it company, I guess.
Dog is much more expensive because all of the booths have to be up to date because the dog goes outside and they have much more diseases to handle. With the cat, it's a bit less cheaper because the cat can be happily totally indoors, which that means it's less threat, probably less vet visits because the cat won't be harmed as much as going outside.
Because cats tend to sort of pretty much look after themselves and rarely end up going to the vets, I think. As to be honest, dogs do, but their vet bills are high. As I'm speaking from experience of having very high vet bills for one cat in particular, which went to about sort of a couple of grand over the space of about 6 months, which was not cheap. But as I say, that was a very complex medical condition that she had at the time. But yeah, I mean, dogs, the vet bills tend to be higher for them. Insurance-wise, I only have one of my dogs insured now, simply because the elder one, who's now 13, had a couple of things that are now excluded from insurance. So, the mere fact that excluded that and their insurance premium was going up, so I think I was paying about 30 quid a month just insurance for her, and it turned out it was covering actually very little indeed. So I just canned that and put the money into a bank account instead, and then it's there if and when she needs it. And the other one I've still got insured because he's still only about 4 years old, so he's got a lot of life ahead of him, and because he's very active, he could end up breaking a leg or something, which would not be cheap.
The insurance is much more for a dog than a cat. So that's, and with our dogs, the type of dogs that we have, it's extortionate.
I'd probably say vet bills, like insurance for dogs is, you can be up to £400 a month on insurance for a dog. It's really expensive, especially in the type of breed. So I'd probably say that, and then on top of that you've got the grooming and things like that, and the dog walking, like if you're at work during the day, and you get like doggy daycare now, if you're putting them into that, that's expensive. So there is a lot of costs when it comes to it.
I mean, I guess probably a dog is going to be more expensive because you either have to walk the dog or you have to pay someone to walk the dog. You also have to have someone board the dog or like watch the dog if you're ever going to be out of town for, a period of time. And a cat, you could just have someone like drop by to feed.
I mean, I don't know personally because my parents pay for my dog. I don't pay for her, but so I don't know. I can't answer that question.
Couldn't tell you.
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, we spent a lot of money for the vet. That's true. That is true.
I once read that the UK spends the same amount on their dogs as America spends on their own healthcare.
Really?
Yeah, I read that once.
Wow.
That's how expensive they are.
Well, they're very destructive cats. If they're indoors all the time, they're going to tear the place apart, aren't they? Because it's against their nature to be indoors. But when they're older, then maybe one of those breeds would be better. But I don't know. That's what I think. They are destructive. My God, the times I had my furniture recovered was about 3 times.
Well, we're a nation of dog lovers, so I think people would favour dogs over cats and own dogs more.
Very difficult to say because people who own cats don't necessarily tell you they own cats. You don't see them out with them, whereas you do, of course, see people out with dogs. And so, out of my group of friends, probably dogs are more popular. But in saying that, you know, virtually all the people that I know who have 1 or 2 dogs will have a cat as well, or have had a couple of cats previously. And then again, they all get along fine. So it's as long as they're in the same pack, they're fine.
I feel like there's more people that say they like dogs better. I don't know if those people all have dogs. Maybe cat people are just more passionate because we can tell that, like, we're the underdogs, no pun intended, so that we have to have a cat to, like, show our love and admiration for them. So maybe there's more cat owners because of that.
Interesting. I think dogs. I guess, I don't know, I might be wrong, people with cats tend to be maybe crazy people who have about 50 of them, and I think people tend to have dogs rather over cats, I would have thought, I'd have guessed.
I think dogs are more popular, for sure.
Nowadays.
Nowadays, yeah.
But previously cats.
I think dogs have always been.
No. Maybe in your lifetime.
That would be my guess. Dogs have always been the more popular pet, that's what I'd say.
And I would say cats, but now I think dogs are taking over.
I think it would probably even out a lot in terms of the city that you live in. So I'd say probably London has a lot more cats in it with dogs, whereas places in Scotland, I would say, have a lot more dogs just because it's the outdoors thing again. But I think and you tend to find that a lot of people who have dogs have cats as well. I know a lot of people that have got both. So I'd probably say it's pretty even. I'd maybe say slightly more dogs just because, yeah, but probably even.
The cat I have right now, Mycroft, we got at a shelter, my roommate and I, and he was a baby little kitten, and we had no idea really what breed he was. They didn't really know either, as is the case with a lot of shelter pets. They kind of have an idea, but they don't really know. And he's a large cat, like Maine Coons. He's half Maine Coon-ish. He has some Maine Coon in him, and because of that, he's just a very sizable cat. Who would have known that when we were in there in the shelter, which is kind of cool. It's like you never know what you're gonna get. What matters most is that you get this beautiful little best friend that now you can grow up with, you know?
For me, my parents went and got this dog because they had their heart set on it. But for me, if you're in a position where you can have a pet, I would say adopt one from the pound or something like that.
Oh, I mean, she does the Every Dogs Matter one at Hampstead Heath, which is they do, and it's a fundraiser and it's fun, and Alan Carr's there. It's none of the sort of, you know, best of breed stuff. It's best rescue. It's, you know, it's just fun really, and I say it raises money for All Dogs Matter, which is a brilliant charity, and that's what we got her.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that these dogs haven't been given a very good start to life, and it's always good to give them another chance. And loads of them are it's people that have decided on a whim that they want a dog, and then they realise how much it costs and how much they have to do to keep it, and they just get rid of it, and it's a real shame. So I think I'd probably go for a rescue over buying a new breed next time. But yeah.
Well, I imagine there's a lot of pets out there that have been disregarded or need a home, and rather than having one artificially made, as it were, or brought from a breeder, you can adopt one and probably just get as much out of that dog and they would probably love you back in return much more.
And, you know, I think they all do a great job because, you know, these animals need love. And I was watching the Channel 4, which was Wood Green, wasn't it, Animal Shelter, and I loved that. You know, people want to have a dog, and dogs and animals, you know, need love really, don't they?
In the United States, 67% of all households own a pet. up 10% since 1988. No surprising that dogs, like in the UK, are in first position, followed by cats. But what is surprising is that third most coveted pet in the United States are freshwater fish.
Oh, not for me. Not for me. I know people who've had them and loved them, and rats are apparently very clever, but no, not for me. Not for me.
Each to their own. I've had friends who have had snakes and things before. I don't find them particularly cuddly, and you know, I struggle to see what you would actually get out of them. You know, because you don't get the same interactions that you would get from a cat or a dog. From an exotic, but yeah, I've had goldfish in the past, and you know, and cared for them as well. So it's yeah. So, personally, I don't see it. I wouldn't get any myself. But
I mean, I think if you know how to properly care for an animal, then more power to you. Take whatever you want, as long as it's like not like a tiger and needing to be like in a big area to roam. But a tarantula or a snake. I mean, I have a turtle too, which isn't that exotic necessarily, but. You know what? Whatever you need for the affection, grab it and enjoy it.
Well, my husband did have a tarantula. I don't know much experience about that, but he really enjoyed it. I think if the person likes that type of creature, it's not much of a pet.
I have considered a bird.
All power to them. I think they're, provided they are cautious of the fact that some animals are predators and venomous, and they have natural instincts to kill. I wouldn't recommend having a tiger or a lion as a pet. I know some people do, but I think they're wild animals, so they deserve to be out in the wild.
They're such a tie, aren't they, animals? You know, can't go away or without finding someone to look after them. And if you had a bird, you could move the bird cage to their flats and things. Probably in the end I won't get anything.
God, every day is a memorable experience.
Unconditional.
Unconditional.
Typical day is to clean a mess she's done on the garden, because she loves to dig everywhere. She loves to eat flowers. So usually it's cleaning up. And then just playing with her, training her as well at the moment, because she's quite young. And yeah, just enjoying time with her, really. Yeah.
I'm going to talk about the cat I grew up with. It was a long-haired calico. Her name was Putty Tat, named after the Warner Brothers cartoon. She, even though her name was Putty Tat, I still just called her Kitty the whole time. But I could cradle this cat. She was like my baby doll, and I would put her in my little baby doll stroller, and she would just lay in that, and I would push her around the house. And I think, you know, at first she was like, why is this happening? But I think she kind of liked it after a while. I think she liked being, you know, seen as this queen of the home and getting pushed around and not having to walk places.
Well, the one thing that sticks in my memory the most, and it's going to sound a bit negative, but it's sort of like part of his personality, and he had an attitude to life where he just did what he wants, and it's just, no matter what he was, enjoyed himself. He used to have this horrible habit of rolling in other dogs' poo, which is not very nice, but then we'd take him home and have a shower and it'd all be good.
Yeah, I just spent a very pleasant weekend with one of the dogs up on the beach up in Suffolk, which was a bit cold and windy, but he's so into it, and it's a shingle beach with, you know, literally billions of stones on it. But if you pick up one stone and get your scent on it just for a second and throw it, he'll go and find it for you. So it's I was talking to a couple up there who were absolutely amazed that he could do this, you know, one stone in amongst many, and he'll come and bring it back to you. So it's probably, as memories go, you know, as pleasant ones. The unpleasant ones are when they pass away.
I think at the start of the year we went up to a place called Cullen in Scotland, where I used to go as a kid with like caravan holidays and things, and we went up there and we did it's called the dog walk, and it's a massive walk round in the hills basically, in the braes, and it's just beautiful, and it's always good. You wouldn't do these things without a dog, I don't think, because you can let them off the lead and they run and stuff, so I think without a dog you wouldn't actually go and do these big long walks, because it's just a bit boring without something there.
I don't know, every time I feel sick, she can sense when I'm not happy, so she always comes and she sits with me. I think that's, yeah. She can like sense how I'm feeling and how other people are feeling, so she's always there.
It was memorable when I moved into this new flat. I tried for her to go out, but we couldn't find, you know, it's got a lift. I tried the stairs and all sorts of things. Not a memorable day, but you know, there are times when you think you've lost them forever, but they're so clever. She was terrified in this new place. It was such a shame. But in the end, she came back, and when I went away for a weekend, but the cat was ill, so I took her to the vet, and my weekend cost about £200 and hers was £600, the cat bill, the vet's bill, because she was on a drip. And that's how it went on, I suppose, in the end. But not a memorable day, but that was pretty memorable, the cat's, the bill for the cat.
Yeah, so speaking of my cat, Putty Tat, she lived a pretty long life. She passed when I was in college, so I wasn't really even around when she died. I remember just my mom telling me that she had to go. She was too sick to live on. And I think the pain is just based on this idea of all the memories you have with that creature. You know, love and care and feelings, that's just one of the saddest experiences you could ever experience.
A lot of sadness around some cats, and one in particular who I think we learned a lot from the vets kept sort of giving her hope. And you know, she went downhill over a space of about 6 months, and I really wish we'd take the decision to, you know, put her out of her misery a lot earlier. But you know, you just it's difficult to let go sometimes, and so you want to remember all the nice things, but unfortunately, you know, she's sort of stuck in my mind as in her last few days. Albeit when we eventually got her put down, or put to sleep, it was amazing the transformation. She went from being a cat clearly in pain and distress to being like a kitten again. Her features just changed, you know, in death, which was a nice memory to have in the end, because it just took me back.
When you have a dog and they're there, you can always kind of sense them, and then they leave the house. If there's no dog in the house, it's like noisily quiet, but you can hear that she's not there. So I feel like when they die, it is like losing a family member, because they're like your sibling or your child.
For some people, a pet's a pet, but for some people it becomes more of a companion, so that would make it a bit more difficult. I would say to those people, you can always get another pet to try and replace that one that's been lost. Even though you've loved that pet for a while, I'm sure as time goes on you'll eventually learn to love.
Make sure you have the time to look after the pet. Adopt, don't shop.
Good one.
What else what would you give?
Yeah, I think adopting, definitely. Time, space, you know, especially in London as well. It's like important to have space for a dog and a pet.
There's a lot of information online. I'd say YouTube is a very good resource for learning how to train a dog, which is very, you need to learn how to train a dog. I think a few months before you start to get a dog, you need to learn what your responsibilities are going to be. And yeah, learn about the different breeds and characteristics and what kind of dog would be right for you. It's going to be very different for someone to get a Labrador than say Shih Tzu. I don't know. You can get all types of different dogs for different people.
And also find a really good breeder, or if you're inexperienced and you want to know more about what kind of dog you're getting, then go and visit different breeders and find out what the lineage is for the dogs. Apparently, like with Labradors, some of them have come from working stock, the gun dogs, which will be very different from the Labradors that we use as show dogs, and they'll have very, very different characteristics. So if you want a high energy Labrador, you'll go for a gun dog, one that's come from the gun dog line. Whereas if you want one that just kind of sits around more at home and doesn't have such a high energy need, then you go for more of a show dog pedigree.
Another idea would be to ask a friend that has a dog, you know, are you going on holiday? Do you need me to care for the dog for maybe a couple of days? And then you get a little bit of experience before you go out and get your own dog. It's a really good idea. Could I manage this? Would it work for me and my lifestyle? So I think that would be a good idea.
And you can go to the rescue kennels and talk to the staff there to find out different characteristics of the dogs. I personally felt I wasn't experienced enough to take a rescue dog. And also we wanted to make sure we knew the lineage for the hypoallergenic aspect. But that's another way of finding out a dog, by talking to the staff there and asking them their advice.
There's so many cats in shelters that need homes because they procreate just much faster than some other species, and so there's just a lot of cats everywhere. And not just kittens. Like if you maybe don't want to spend all the time getting the kitten kind of acclimated to life, get a cat that's a couple years old and you'll still get all the wonderful benefits.
I'd say go and, you know, look online and see which is, you know, the best breed, not necessarily as in, you know, breed, but you know, which is going to be the best for you. If you don't have a lot of time to walk a dog, maybe you want a different type of dog.
The biggest thing for me is do a proper assessment of your situation, how much time you can dedicate to this pet, what your home is like. The worst thing you could do is just to get a pet that becomes a burden rather than something that's going to be cherished.
It would depend very much how much time they can devote to it. As you mentioned earlier, you know, cats are a lot more, if you like, self-sufficient in that way. My wife actually walks dogs as a little part-time job. So, you know, if I was to give them advice, if you're going to be out working all day, don't necessarily get a dog or pay a dog walker to walk it, to at least get it out during the day. If that's your life, then you're probably better with a cat.
I mean, if you want a dog and you're not going to want to get a cat, I mean, you're not going to settle for a cat if you want a dog kind of thing. So I think obviously a cat seems like the natural kind of first step in terms of, like my friends do, they just leave it in the flat all day and it's kind of fine. They can let it out in the morning, let it in the evening. It's not as high maintenance. So it's a good stepping stone, I guess. But I mean, if you want a dog, I think you have to make sure you're ready to take that leap. I think it's not fair on the dog if you just, fancy, a lot of people are kind of dogs for life, not for Christmas, that kind of sentiment where you can't just get it on a whim and then just think, oh, it's fine. Then you realise, oh, I'm actually at work all day and there's no one nearby to leave it with, and I can't be able to get up in the morning and walk it for an extra hour and things like that. I mean, it's not a case of just having a dog as a show. It's a living thing that needs time and attention, and I think if you give a dog that kind of time and attention, it's a really nice thing to have. But it can become a burden, I think, on you if you don't take those kind of logistical things into account. Which is why I haven't to this point. My girlfriend, we'd love a dog, but I think as it stands, it's just the time and the effort and the money to do it wouldn't be fair on the dog, I don't think, if it wouldn't be around.
Make sure you're completely prepared to have it. It's like having a child.
Committed.
You're committed to the dog. A dog is not just for Christmas. It's a life.
Over the last few years, the UK pet population has dropped slightly to 51 million. Dogs are by far the most popular pet, followed closely behind by cats. Only 1% of UK households own rabbits and cage birds, and only 0.4% own snakes. Dogs generally need more looking after, need to be taken for walks, and generally cost more. Cats tend to look after themselves. From our research, there seems to be an equal amount of both dog and cat lovers, but what influences their decision is hard to explain. One thing is for certain though, dogs and cats are here to stay.
I think that I'm going to embrace the crazy cat lady moniker, because I think you can be crazy for cats and not like be crazy in a negative way. So I kind of embrace it. I'm a crazy cat lady.